Hi, good afternoon. It's Charlene Chua, and I'm an English teacher here in Laos. So today I'm going to talk about the contract specifics of a foreign teacher in both Thailand and Laos. So this is a combination because the contracts are similar. So just I think one video should say everything that's important. In my previous video, you can see that I already um, I already indicated the requirements for teachers for Filipino teachers being hired in Thailand and in Laos. So let's go to the breakdown of what you need to see in your contract so that it's very fair for both sides. Okay. So first of all, I came to both Thailand and Laos as a teacher, and and it will be you will have to see in your contract very specific details, okay, because sometimes maybe because of the language barrier, um, it may not be so clear. Like in Thailand, if you're hired as a by a English program, so it's the document is translated from Thai to English. And here in Laos, I was hired by a local international school, so they do have the Lao contract with them, and then they also have the English contract, and so you will also have a copy of the contract in English. So first of all, it has to specifically state if you're hired, you'll be hired for 1 school year, and it has to specifically state from what date you start until the last day. Okay, why is that? Because the one academic year is may differ from one school to another. It means like how many months are you going to be paid? Is it 9 months? Is it 10 months? Is it 11? Is it 12? Is it 10.5 months? So that has to be specific from your starting date up to the last day, whether you're going to be renewed or not. Okay. And second, so that has to be very specific. Okay. And because, for example, in Thailand, in the policy differs from one school to the other. In my previous school, I was hired and paid for. I started in May 15th, and then the last day of my employment was the end of March 2018. So that all of those were all of those school days, including holidays, were paid. Okay, so that was the contract. Okay, in some schools, if you're going to in Thailand, in some schools, if you're going to continue the next year, you will be paid the summer term. So that's April. Yeah, that's April and until the first 2 weeks of May. Okay? In some schools, they may not pay you the summer term. So here in Lao, the local international schools do not pay the summer term unless you're going to teach during the summer. So you may teach for 1 month, you may teach for 2 months. That's entirely up to you. But in Laos, summer months are not paid. Okay. And second of all, you also have to look at uh, paid holidays. So what are paid holidays? So paid holidays can be the uh, legal holidays of that country. Let's say in Thailand, there's like Father's Day, Mother's Day are different dates compared to the Western countries. So you have to look into that. And for example, like um, the mid-year, there's also vacation before the second term starts. So you also have to look into that if that is paid, because in some for some schools they do not pay. Even here in Laos, I heard that in some schools um, they do not pay those holidays. So no work, no pay, even though you are a full-time teacher in that school. So please, in your contract should indicate that. And also, for example, like here, In local international schools, we have the Christmas break for 3 weeks. So is that paid? Which means like it covers because the Christmas break is 3 weeks, so that's around 20th December up to the first week of January. So are those 3 weeks paid, or are you only paid for the days that you have work? So that has to be very specific as well. That doesn't, however, that doesn't apply in Thailand because they don't celebrate Christmas unless you uh, you're hired by a Christian school or an international school. Okay, and then what else? You have to look at the leaves. Okay, so are you allowed like personal leaves? Are you allowed sick leaves? So you will have to look into those things like how many are you allowed in 1 year, how many are paid, how many are unpaid, and if you are on a sick leave, like on what day are you supposed to submit a medical certificate so that they don't deduct from your salary. So for example, let's say if you're only sick for 1 day, that's okay. Like you don't need to show a medical certificate. But for example, you've been absent for 2, 3 days and so on, then you will need to show a medical certificate. So those things need to be clear. Okay. And also your contract has to be specific. For example, like who's going to pay um, for your trip going to Thailand or to Laos. In my case, I was the one who paid for my own plane ticket going into these two countries. So that has to be specific. Let's say at the end of the year, if you completed the contract, are, are they going to pay for your ticket back home, your flight home? Are you able to reimburse that? So for example, in my previous school, um, after 2 years of service, they're going to pay for your ticket wherever you came from. So, from what I know, one of my colleagues is now leaving for South America, and by after 2 years of service, so she also came from there, and so I believe that the school should pay her whatever whatever amount whatever amount she spent on that 2 years ago. If that's the case, then you will need to keep your receipts, your tickets, and your bookings in whatever shape or form. Let's say it came through via email, um, and if it came through via email, then keep it. Through via email, then keep it. Keep those receipts so that you have proof that they're supposed to reimburse you on that. However, in my case, again, um, I just finished 1 year, so I wasn't entitled to that, and also my previous school in Thailand did not pay for that. So that really has to be specific. In some schools, after you complete 1 year, they're going to pay for the ticket. In some schools, they may give you like a 1 month salary if you complete 1 year. In some schools, there are also cases where if you just finish the whole school year, they will still, and you decide, maybe both parties decide that you don't want to stay another year, they're still going to pay you the whole 12 months or at least the whole 11 months. So that has to be explicit in your contract. And then another one I heard from a friend, so it's always good to ask other people, is that when he was from our school, in a local English program government school, he transferred to an international school in Bangkok. So on his first year, he was a local hire because he just came from southern part of Thailand, then moved to Bangkok. So they didn't pay his ticket to go to Bangkok, which was fine because it's the plane ticket is inexpensive anyway. So on when he signed his contract, it says there that at the end of his 2 year service, is that he can service is that he can they're going to pay for his ticket returning to his home country. However, this is the plot twist. When on his first year there was a different headmaster, and on his second year the school had a total change of management. Now the school is under, at the time it was under, um, when 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 a new management took over, it's when the new management took over, it became under ISS. Um, ISS is a big school management for international schools around the world. So at the end of his second year, because of the new management, they did not reimburse his uh, his uh, ticket amount back to his home country. But the good thing was he was able to move to a to the Middle East. So he's now teaching in Abu Dhabi, and they paid for his plane ticket going to Abu Dhabi. So those things, and he didn't really say anything, didn't file anything, although he's supposed to be entitled to it. So those things you really need to clarify, because this is this is probably the best chance that we all have when we start out with the school, right? If it's clear from the beginning, at least there isn't gonna be a lot of problem when when you need to ask them about the contract, rather than, let's say, uh, going to your manager or going to the head of foreign teachers and saying, or the HR department, and saying, oh, it says something like this in the contract, but why is it not being implemented? So as much as possible, be clear. Be clear, because you're going to stay at least for 1 year, for one school year, and I believe that we want to be happy, right? Wherever we're staying, we want to be happy. We want to have a good working relationship with the management, first of all, and then with our students. So that said, if you're able to clarify those things out, then there shouldn't be any problem. Also, one last thing, you need to clarify, like, if you're getting any health insurance from the school, um, health insurance, social service. So this has to also be stated. Like, are you going to get an allowance, or are you supposed to take that out on your own? Are they going to pay for some amount? And how about living allowance or moving allowance? Are they going to subsidize on that, or will they just say, like, we're going to assist you in finding accommodation? It just means, if it's just assistance, it doesn't mean that they're going to pay for some of it. Rather, they're just going to help you find an accommodation, but they're not necessarily going to pay for it. So those things you need to clarify, so that when you get there and you're someone new who may have uprooted their lives from another country, and then you get there, and then you don't feel welcome, then it may not be a pleasant experience. And how can you really stay on for the whole year if when you first came there, nobody's gonna welcome you with open arms, right? So these things you really need to clarify, and then I'll just indicate them down below on the link in description. And if you have any questions, go ahead. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to clarify these things. So bye.